My name is Devin. I'm a senior majoring in economics. I can confirm there are a lot of straight black men here at Stanford. I'm on the left, and I can imagine you're going to have a lot of questions about race and immigration, but I wanted to push you on a more nuanced sort of set of economic thoughts, right? So I feel that on your side, you talk about free markets a great deal, and I just want to ask you, number one, how do you think that economic nationalism sort of goes alongside sort of this Milton Friedman, as you all espouse, sort of sense of free markets? They seem to be at contrast with one another. Economic nationalism is not a part of sort of orthodox economic thought. Secondly, and it's only because I think the Stanford College Republicans, they had a table about why socialism is bad or whatever. Yeah, socialism sucks.
Socialism sucks, socialism kills, socialism's the worst idea of the 20th century, stuff like that.
So we had a debate there, as well as in another example, we were talking about property rights and things of that nature. One of the things that I brought up there is that according to orthodox economics, if you underutilize sort of resources, land, labor, capital that you have, the government is doing an efficient thing by taking and redistributing those resources. And the question, and the response that I got from them was essentially free market's okay so long as it doesn't conflict with sort of the ideals we believe in. And I said, well, that's not really free market thinking. So my question to you is, again, sort of the principles that you have, based on free markets, how does economic nationalism, how does that coincide with it, in addition to this sense of unused property rights?
Okay, let's go to the second one. I'll kind of volley a question back to you. Do you think, based on pure economics and based on the utilitarian models that we have, that government's really more efficient at using idle and sedentary land, capital, and labor than the market?
Well, to answer that, so if you take a specific example of squatters' rights, that's a situation where the government isn't actually doing anything but saying...
Well, give me a specific example of squatters' rights where they're not taking an asset that could be owned privately.
No, what I'm saying is, for instance, if you have squatters' rights and you just let and say that if someone moves into unused property, let's say after 6 or 7 years, I guess depending on what sort of what state you're in, you can stay in the house. That's the government just saying, okay, people, do what you're going to do. That's not the government actually going out and seizing the property.
So you're saying that when it's not owned privately, it's not owned publicly, and it's completely barren and has no claim on it?
No, it's owned by the person that decides to squat in it after the period of time, because...
Well, no, I mean, if the land is not owned by anyone, is what you're saying.
No, it is. That's the whole premise.
I know, but squatters' rights is a very rural, like Wyoming, Montana, North and South Dakota,
No, but it's
Nebraska,
a fair
Kansas.
example. I'm just asking.
No, I know, but so if you talk about, I mean,
that's
if you're taking a piece of private property from someone else and you think they're not, quote unquote, using it, then you're doing a value imposition upon the owner of that piece of property, because they might be storing capital behind that land, value behind that land, I should say. They might be using it for something in the future. So I would argue strongly against squatters' rights and in saying
that's just a specific example.
No, I understand. I asked for one. But the broader point is I would make the more nuanced argument for the second part, and I'll go back to economic nationalism, that the market is and always will be a better utility to use labor, capital, and land than the government ever could. It's more efficient, it's more widespread. So the market is really, really good at bringing prices down, bringing quality up, and making accessibility go horizontally. And we see that in every single vertical. Where the market is allowed to exist, you see the quality of good go up, you see the price go down, and you see more and more people able to have it. So whether
I don't disagree with that.
No, I'm just saying I'm not saying we disagree. I'm just saying that's where we come from.
Sure.
So we try to have market-based solutions to basically every problem that we come across, whether it be education, whether it be technology or finance. How can we incorporate timeless free market principles into structural problems that we have? So let's talk about the inner cities. Candace talks about this a lot. The government has a pseudo-monopoly on education right now, okay? So bad teachers are not allowed to be fired. It costs $24,000 per pupil to educate an individual in Baltimore City schools. Yet an independent study showed that 13 schools in Baltimore, they could not find one student in those 13 schools that was proficient in math or reading. That's a failed government monopoly. So we come at that problem, we say, all right, we know markets work. We've seen it work throughout the course of time for the standard of living increase, prices go down. How can we incorporate market-based principles into a government-structured problem? So we come and we say school choice, voucher system,
100%.
allowing parents be able to have competition in that sort of community. Where, by the way, a Catholic school will better educate a student at $9,000 a year, where the government will poorly educate a student at $24,000 a year.